Today, we are talking about the reset button your soul seeks, and it's going to be found in one of the most unlikely places. So let's get started.
Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, a place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your human journey as a pathway to remembering your divinity. I am Michelle Bursell, as emotional and spiritual worlds through proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever.
Welcome to I'm Perfectly Divine. I am so glad you are with me because it's really important, I think, especially as we go into Mercury retrograde, that memories come forward or we have experiences that show up where we want a take back, where we cringe at how we've shown up, or we beat the crap out of ourselves because we've made a mistake. And we've been on this path long enough where we're like, wow, I should know better. But here is the crazy thing, is that what we aren't taught is that these moments, exactly these cringeworthy moments, are often such freaking gifts for us to receive and to receive fully ourselves. And so this is exactly why the mistake that's the cringe moment happens. It's the reset opportunity, making things so clear that this is not me. This is not who I want to be. And so this is our opportunity to really utilize this as a gift and an opportunity. But what happens, especially if you're emotionally sensitive, is you go into a shame spiral, right? And we've all been there with the shame spirals. And same shame spirals may get us back into line, like, here's a better version of myself. So I'm going to shame myself to be this better person that I ought to be. But we all know that it's going to be temporary when it's coming from shame. So it doesn't last. And the reason is because it's a sense of lack about ourselves, where we are pushing ourselves with to be something better, which a part of us knows that's our truth, but we aren't bringing along the aspect of ourselves that has come forward with compassion and love. And so we shame ourselves that we've behaved in a way that isn't who we want to be. And we act in accordance with some ideal for a while. Then, of course, something happens and it lures us back into being out of alignment. And then we create the misinformation in our head that we're broken, and we're not. It's just that we haven't learned how to work with the aspects of ourselves that are out of alignment. And so it's why shame tactics, as trying to change our kids through shame, it doesn't work either, right? We need to help our children understand the driving force underneath the behavior that is out of alignment. And it's the same within ourselves. So this is the difference between knowing better in our minds and knowing better in our hearts. And this takes immense courage, vulnerability, and humility without spiraling into shame. And shame here's where shame comes in, where it can be helpful. It's just helpful for a short-term warning that it offers, telling us, reminding us, making it very clear to us, this is not my essence. This is not my truth. And so it's a signal to say, whoa, I am way out of alignment here, right? Because it doesn't feel good. So that's where shame serves us. And that's the end of it. Then we take that signal and we have a choice how we want to work with that energy. And that's all that this is energy guiding us, supporting us, if we learn to work with it that way. So instead of running back to trying to, I've got to be a good person or a more aligned person, you want to give this part of you your love and compassion because it's coming out sideways for a reason. And so this is our opportunity. This is why we would give something compassion, even though we judge it as wrong, because it's a part of us. And it takes courage to come forward in this timeline right now that it came out, it snuck out, because there's something about this timeline, this present moment, that is your opportunity to address it with clarity and devotion to accessing deeper understanding of yourself. And this is the journey of gnosis. This is what it means. It's humbly willing to know yourself. I think we think gnosis is like divine enlightenment. And that's the path to gaining wisdom. But the path to gaining wisdom is often through our mistakes. That's how we know ourselves. And so we want to realign to really understanding something is off and understanding what that is for us. And if gnosis is your goal, then you seek to understand it from love and compassion. Otherwise, this aspect, when shamed, will remain within you. Like we're not changing anything. And this is what will keep you feeling like you take one step forward and two steps back. How many of us have been there, right? It's because your mind will be like, I know better, but it's not integrated in your heart. It's not embodied yet. And it will remain unintegrated until it is shown compassion and understanding. This very aspect that you're judging as an error. And so, because you judge this aspect as so wrong, you can't bring it forward. But the whole point of transmutation is that it allows you to keep the refined aspect that the unintegrated aspect is guiding you to incorporate. So let me say that again. When we have an aspect that's out of alignment with us, our truth, it has a refined aspect that is a part of our truth, but we can't get to it unless we incorporate the by going towards this aspect that we judge with compassion, with vulnerability, to get to the refined aspect that wants to be seen. So this is how you complete yourself or be the completed human rather than quote unquote try to improve yourself. Because this is the completeness to me, knowing that there is this side of me, but understanding it from love allows a compassion where this does not have to seek coming out sideways in order to get your attention, because you're learning to attend to it differently. So that's what I want to address today, some of the steps to support you to transmute rather than transform without gathering the wisdom that's available in that moment of the mistake, of the cringe, of the out of alignment. So it's the courage to go into the horrificness of what you're judging. I call it or I should say my ego calls it, the ugly aspect. It's the part of myself that's like, whoa, I really don't want to be tied to that part of me. And so that rejection is like, this is ugliness. That's how my ego will categorize it. And it's really having the courage to say, and that is me too. So that's step number one. And then being willing to be with it. Like, what is it that about this aspect that I don't want to be? And be real honest rather than what our go-to is when we see ourselves acting in a manner that we're like, I don't want to associate myself with. We tend to defend or cover it up and make excuses. So by stating the quote unquote ugly nature, you gain understanding. There's an opportunity, what are you wanting to say to me? Where are you coming from? What are you trying to show me? Because this is the very valuable piece here. It's trying to show you something on a spectrum, like the spectrum of like who I want to be and who I don't want to be. And so we're over here in the cringe and and we're like, I don't want to be this. But there's something here that's, when understood, is going to help us see what's out of alignment so that we can align back with that version of ourselves that is in alignment with our truth. So, how are you guiding me to greater alignment? Is basically where we can go when we're really sitting with this aspect of ourselves to say, it's okay. I want to see you. I want to understand you. I know you have a message for me. I know there's my ego judging you as ugly, but I see you as valuable. I see you coming out sideways to get my attention. And there's something important that you seek that my consciousness hasn't allowed me, that my ego hasn't allowed me. And now this is the opportunity to change that. Because the wisdom is in being able to get that, the mistake, the cringe, the out of alignment is on that same spectrum to the you that you desire to be. And within all the darkness is more light. So there is something important to you that wants to be revealed. And what is revealed isn't just your out of line nature, but also your power. And so if we avoid this part of us and saying, I just got to be the good person that I want to be, we're missing the element of power that is in this situation. And this power is revealed through our awareness. That's what it's guiding us back to, because when we're aware, we have more choice. And this is coming forward for you to see how this is playing out in another area of your life. And I promise it is. That's why I came out to support you. And it needs you to become more conscious. And what comes forward is always, to me, it's like it's a revelation. It's shocking. It's surprising, like in a really good way, if we're willing to be there with these rejected aspects. Because now you have an awareness of a thread that you've been pulling in another area of your life that you've been totally unaware of, and you probably have been judging another person for doing it as well. I mean, it's just so fascinating, like the web of life and how this all works for us to help us bring forward greater awareness. So the power move here is to really dial into where I've been blind and now I can see. Like, I want to dig in there. I can see the similarities to what I've judged to recognize how I'm doing the same damn thing. Like if you can go there, it's like, like things really open up. And this gives you the completed picture of why certain people act in a way that has hurt you or annoys you, and how you are that person that annoys or hurts another. And then you get to see both sides of the story. And I can't tell you how powerful this is, because this is a gift to be able to walk being both the person who gets annoyed and the annoying person, or the accused and the accuser. Because now you're holding a wisdom to take in both sides with compassion and understanding. This is what will allow you to show up with greater discernment in order to know what it will take from you to see, to notice, and to understand in order to ultimately bring you closer to your desired outcome. Because it's not going to happen doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. So, this is how we recognize that, oh, this aspect of myself that hasn't been incorporated is why I feel like I'm taking one step forward, two steps back, why I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. So, do I want to be right and believe I'm right, but not get the outcome that I truly desire? Or do I want to be wrong, vulnerable, but gain understanding? And it's like we've been taught to avoid this like the plague, because we call it ugly, because we call it wrong, because we call it bad. But there's the opportunity to gain understanding of ourselves, why things aren't working, and the gift to truly know ourselves. So this isn't about being wrong, to humiliating ourselves, to dig into the shame of not feeling enough, and to keep just emphasizing, how broken or wrong or off we are, but being willing to gain humility to understand what this part of us seeks. And the humility, we are able to listen and learn from an aspect of ourselves that we judge, then deepens our ability to truly respect another who may have vastly different experiences than yours, and receive them as well. So rather than dismiss another because they don't, match what you desire in a given moment, you've learned to receive the aspects of both yourself and life that your ego wants to reject. And what we learn is that others, like ourselves, don't need fixing. We simply need space, that this aspect or this person's experience is legitimate, matters, and that gives us the ability to grow, to expand our hearts, to include them. Again, if it's a rejected aspect or a person or a group of people that we reject, now we are learning to become more inclusive. And in this way, we won't unconsciously be blaming and seeking others to fix what is only ours to address. Because that's how that blame game just keeps going on and going on and going on. This teaches us a deeper level of personal responsibility that allows us to show up more courageously by recognizing what we are trying to avoid and the cost of doing so. The cost of judging and naming this aspect as wrong or ugly and so on. And how we do it to others. Again, whether consciously or not. So it's the exact difference from knowing better in our minds and truly knowing better, or not even knowing better, but truly knowing in an embodied way, a heart knowing of what is true for us. And this embodied wisdom that will not allow us to betray ourselves again in the same way is what we are trying to access, because that's how we get out of the loop of trying to be some pedestal version of ourselves to being honoring the completeness of who we are in a way that we take radical personal responsibility. And we do it because this is the path of gnosis. And often it is not a one and done experience. I think maybe for some people it can be. I'll say somehow my ego tends to be more stubborn, and I have to chip away through continued course corrections, through all the mistakes, all the ways that, I miss the mark to access the gold in the dark. But after doing this so often, I can always say that it's there. It's awaiting us. That light, that love, that compassion, that wisdom, and it's often in the most surprising ways. So the path of gnosis that may be the quickest opportunity for us to grow is often sitting right there in front of us. It's through our out of aligned, outcasted aspects of self. It's the quickest path. And the more we meet these aspects with vulnerability, courage, and humility, the more you will find your mistakes are present in order to help you to live more of the outcome that you desire. So allow yourself to dive in fully to your mistakes without hesitation, without fear, because they will bring you more love and they will bring you the understanding that you seek. This is the path of gnosis. It is the light and the darkness always seeking to find you. And it just requires your courage to access darkness with vulnerability. And when you do this, you may find that the very aspect of yourself that you've been hiding is the reset button that your soul has been seeking. And that to me is the most exciting part. It reminds me, this is, again, I think Mercury in retrograde, it can remind us of stories from our past. And when I was putting this together, it reminded me of when I was a teenager and I got caught drinking. And I remember, I got busted from my parents and I was grounded for like a month, maybe longer. I can't remember. And I had my teenage persona, being all pissed off and like, this is unfair. And, everyone else can drink or whatever it was. But I precisely remember a part of my soul feeling relieved. Like my soul knew that if I were to keep going with this group, they were they were going to go on to greater experimentations that would not have been good for me, that would have been harder for me to overcome. And so it's like these two different aspects at play, right? The persona me, the ego me, it was like, this is unfair, and a soulful part of me that was relieved. I mean, and isn't that interesting? Because this was a part of myself that I was trying to hide. Supposedly, I didn't want, I would be ashamed of my parents finding out. But there was something that made the mistake known to them in order that they could do their part to look out for my soul, which they were willing to step into. Not what my persona insisted was no big deal, but for a higher version of myself. And through that period of grounding, I found, relief from friends that got into more trouble and found other friends that I could connect with that that was more of what my soul needed. I've seen this with couples that I've worked with where, one person was cheating on another and it became found out, and as much of that as that person was ashamed because they broke this vow to their partner, they also experience relief from trying to hide it, but also that his soul didn't want this for himself anymore. And so he didn't want to be that person anymore, but he also didn't understand what was underneath it until he was called to deeply take responsibility for his own emotions and what was going on, rather than blame and make excuses. I'm not being seen and la la la. And so there's these opportunities. And whether it leads to a couple staying together or not is often not really the point on a soul level. It's how is each person's soul meant to grow through this experience? And so as we devote ourselves to the path of gnosis, it is no longer having our parents or spouse or whoever, quote unquote, catch us, that we are willing to call ourselves out in order to provide ourselves with the reset that our souls seek. And what I'll leave you with is to remember that what you are looking for, what you are seeking, is also seeking you. So until next time, know that there is nothing to fix, just to remember.
I am so honored you have joined me today. If you enjoyed the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, subscribe so you don't miss any of our power-filled episodes. Also, if you know another who is strong, sensitive, and spiritual and wants to dive deeper into emotions and ancient wisdom so they too can create profound peace and fulfillment from within, please share this podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.